Welcome to our last segment. Something one of y'all two mentioned just a minute ago about the playoff. It's supposed to be that they're going to pick the best 4 teams in the country to play in that playoff. But I don't think they're going to have 2 teams from the SEC in it to save their life. They're going to do everything they can to
everything they can, because that's the whole idea.
I mean, they would like to have none.
Yeah, that's the reason why it's set up. I mean, I believe that more than anything.
I thought
when Alabama and LSU met that year, and I said they're going to change this as soon as they can. They don't want 2 SEC teams playing for it, but it's going to be hard when they're the best conference. And I don't know how they can stop it.
If Ohio State goes undefeated, just say they do, they play one ranked team all year, and that's Michigan State.
Well, there's going to be. I was reading the other day. There's 2 or 3 criterias. The conference championship is going to have an effect. Strength of schedule is going to have an effect.
Well, then there should be 4 SEC teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
Now here's my scenario.
Arkansas should get in their strength of schedule. Ain't that right?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah. So they got the toughest schedule.
This show's brought to you by Jack Daniels, but anyway, evidently because Robert's been in the sauce. What if, hypothetically, we say we have an undefeated Oregon, we have an undefeated Oklahoma, then we have an undefeated, and I can't believe this is about to spew out of my mouth, an undefeated Ohio State team, an undefeated ACC champion, let's just say Florida State.
Which is possible.
And then you have an undefeated SEC or an SEC team with 1 loss. The SEC champions got 1 loss. Now the obvious thing is, see Ohio State, they don't play. Wait. The Big 12, they don't play a conference championship game, so they're automatically the conference champion. So Oklahoma would probably get the nod there.
Yes.
Now.
Well, they'd probably give everybody the nod and leave the SEC out, and I don't know how you could do that. I mean, that's when that 1-loss team from the SEC would more than likely beat every one of those other teams.
And let's say as far as AP rankings, let's say hypothetically, don't get all offended. Let's just say that Alabama's the 4th team. They're ranked 4th and they're undefeated. And Oklahoma, they're the 5th team, and they're undefeated. But they don't play in a championship. Even though Alabama and Oklahoma are both conference champions, Alabama plays in a championship game.
One more game than they do.
But Oklahoma, remember a few years ago, Auburn didn't get put in the SEC, the national championship game because they lost to USC 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if people's remembering? Well, Oklahoma beat Alabama last year. What if the committee looks at that and bumps Oklahoma over Alabama?
Well, what if Auburn's undefeated, ranked number 1 in the nation when they play Alabama, and Alabama beats them? Goes to the just say LSU beat Alabama early in the season, then Alabama goes and beats number 1 Auburn, and then goes and wins the SEC championship game.
I would say it depends on where Alabama's ranked. If they're number 2 or 3, like it was last year.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But what if for some reason Alabama the Jake Coker experience hasn't worked, and they're a 2-loss team, or even a 1-loss team, and they beat out Auburn?
I don't think the Coker thing's going to have anything to do with it at all, though.
No, I'm talking about because since Alabama, if they've got 1 or 2 losses, if they've already been eliminated from the SEC championship game, and they play spoiler and they beat Auburn, and like you said, where do they put Auburn, even though they've been number 1 this whole time?
What would they drop? Like Alabama dropped to 4th last year.
Well, this year though, it would not surprise me though. A number 1 SEC team get beat, they drop them past 4.
Oh well, yeah.
But it comes down
which isn't right.
But they said it doesn't. It's not supposed to be with the rankings.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the best 4 teams in the country.
Let's say it comes down to Ohio State and Auburn. Whose schedule's the toughest?
Auburn.
Exactly.
By far.
And let's say Alabama. Let's say the one if we beat. Let's say it's like we kick them a field goal. Ironically, kick a field goal and beat them by 1 point
with 1 second left.
Yeah, 1 second left.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Rob's wearing his T-shirt today. Right. It does look good on him from afar.
Well, I've been thinking about that. It could wind up being where just hypothetically, Alabama and Auburn play again this year, ranked number 1 and 2. All right, when they get to that game, both of them would have to be undefeated, I guess, to be ranked number 1 and 2, which means that LSU would have 2 losses because they'd already played Alabama and Auburn. But just say LSU did have 2 losses, and they've been beat by the number 1 and number 2 team in the country.
Didn't LSU win the national championship with 2 losses?
Yeah, with 2 losses. Well, I mean, are they going to? I mean, I'm sure this committee's going to drop them out of the top 10, but just say Alabama just barely beat them, Auburn just barely beat them, and would they? And they win the rest of their games. They finish 10 and 2. I would have them in the top 5.
Hey, here's another scenario I just not thought about, and it's kind of similar to what you were saying. Let's say Auburn's 1, Alabama's 2. They're both undefeated. Alabama beats Auburn by 3 or 4 points and goes to the SEC title game and wins the ACC. Auburn, that's their only loss is to that team, Alabama. But Oregon and let's say Oklahoma are sitting there. How far does Auburn fall? Are they? Because the reason I'm saying this, if Auburn loses to Alabama, that's their last game before whatever bowl they play in.
Yeah.
So that would give them 1 loss. So if they lost, like I said, if they lost on the last second play, or if that game reverse, if it comes on the last second play and Alabama beats Auburn on the last second play, where it can go on either way, Alabama would jump to number 1. Auburn would, I would assume, probably in the AP poll would probably fall number 2, maybe 3 at the worst. And the way this scenario plays out, you say you've got Oklahoma and Oregon as the Big Ten. The big.
You got
big,
3 or
Big 12.
4 undefeated teams.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, there's an opportunity for Auburn if they're no worse than 3rd. And now of course the polls I don't think is going to have an effect on the committee.
No, the AP poll and the committee's going to have their own poll.
But let's say that let's say it's Alabama, Oregon, Oklahoma, and it comes down to Auburn, Ohio State, and Ohio State's got a loss.
I don't care if Ohio State's undefeated; it should still be Auburn.
Yes, it should be because Ohio State. Look at what they've done with SEC teams they've played in the past.
What I'm saying though, if let's say it's Alabama, Oregon, Oklahoma, Ohio State's got a 1 loss, and they won, or actually let's say 1 loss. Let's say they lose to Michigan the same way Auburn loses to Alabama, but they turn around and win their league in the championship game, and it comes down to Auburn and Ohio State. You're going to have conference champion Ohio State, which is what Auburn didn't do, but you'd have Auburn's strength of schedule versus Ohio State's lack of. See, that's the.
Well, I can tell you right now what they'll do.
There's going to be controversy.
They'll drop Auburn out.
I mean, based on the statistics,
because they love Ohio State.
But based on the criteria they chose, Auburn would win each scenario.
Oh yes, but when it comes to SEC, you're going to watch these people start changing their minds.
And see, and then there would be a possibility of Auburn, Alabama in a national championship game, and as a consensus, they wouldn't want to see a rematch again.
Well, here's what I was looking at with Oklahoma a while ago. They play Tennessee 3rd week of the season. Well, just say Tennessee plays Alabama close, doesn't win but plays them close. Say they beat Georgia or South Carolina. Tennessee does. All right, and Oklahoma beats Tennessee. Then even if Georgia has a 1 loss maybe to Baylor, I guess, or there's really nobody on their schedule except Baylor, then that's going to put hey, we beat an SEC team,
and see
that beat Georgia. Just say
and with that being said, I know the college basketball pundits for the tournament, they look at who's played who. Let's say Oklahoma beats Tennessee 27-26, and then Alabama beats Tennessee 37-10. The margin of victory. I think they need to have like a margin of victory.
Well, when the BCS first came out, Spurrier at Florida was beating people 60-0
because they wanted the point.
Just so the computers would pick them to be better, and that's the BCS, as bad as it was when it started towards the end. It got a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But now this playoff is going to be like the BCS was.
Yeah.
It's going to be somebody's going to get your feelings hurt, and maybe Auburn, maybe Alabama, maybe whoever. Somebody's going to get left out that thinks they should be in it, and this is going to start all over again.
I don't think there's a perfect way to do it. I mean,
Now, they may not get the 4 best teams, but I think the best team will be in that 4. Just like the NCAA basketball, they don't they may not have the best 68, but the best team
have
is
the
in that
best
68.
team in the nation there.
We're leaving Florida State completely out of the conversation.
Well, I don't.
I forgot about them.
I don't think they're going to be in there either. But I mean, they don't. They play Oklahoma State. They play Notre Dame.
And they end the season with Florida.
Yeah,
but Florida's picked ranked 23rd now. But by the time Florida State plays them, I don't think Florida will be in the. But this is what I'm wanting with the SEC. I'm wanting these teams that used to be killers. I want them to get back to where everybody in the SEC will kick your tail.
Well, that's basically almost the way it is in the West.
Yeah.
Except for Arkansas.
Yes.
I mean, Kevin's favorite player, Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. He's a dark horse for the Heisman. He's gonna.
Are you gonna be down there for any games?
I'm gonna get you a press pass for Mississippi State.
Good.
I'm going to.
I'm gonna get me a shirt that says Dak Attack.
Dak Attack.
Oh. I mean, but you look at from top to bottom, and just in any SEC team schedule, there's not a layoff except for these FCS schools. Maybe Auburn plays Samford. That's really their only one because San Jose's not a pushover. Kansas State's not a pushover. But then you go to Florida State. They have Oklahoma State, the Citadel, Clemson, North Carolina State, Wake Forest, who's like the Citadel.
Yeah.
Syracuse, who's the Citadel.
Worse than the Citadel.
Notre Dame, Louisville, Virginia, who have a good baseball team, Miami, Boston College, and Florida.
That's pitiful. I mean,
that any SEC schedule is twice as tough as that schedule. So I mean, they got a really good chance of going undefeated again.
Not trying to bring that subject back up, but I just had speaking of Dak Prescott, I just came up with an awesome idea for a video game.
Oh my gosh!
Call it Dak Man. You know how in Pac-Man you would go through the video game and he would get eaten. He would be able to survive a whole board without getting eaten by the ghost or whatever. Well, video game have Dak going through the SEC schedule, but not be able to make it through the whole season without an injury.
That's not very highly. That has a quarterback in Mississippi State in the last 10 years made it through the season without getting hurt?
No, I don't think so.
Tyler Russell stayed hurt. Stayed hurt.
And I'm not as critical on Dak Prescott as I am Dan Mullen, because look at his record versus top 25 teams since he's been there.
Terrible.
Since he's been separated from the third spirit, Tim Tebow, and I love Tim Tebow, by the way, and Urban Meyer, since that little staff has been broken up, Dan Mullen's not been the same. I think it showed that even I think Urban Meyer's a better coach, and he's a good coach without Tebow as he is with Tebow. But I think Dan Mullen showed that he was all about, if he didn't have Tim Tebow, didn't develop the jack squat.
Well, it was the same way with somebody was talking about this a few weeks ago. Somebody told me, they said, "Well, Andy, Mississippi State's got everybody back," and I said, "Exactly." I mean, why should we be scared of the same Mississippi State team they had last year? I can't see that.
Well, back to Florida State, their away games. They play North Carolina State away.
And that's going to be a good ball game, though.
Yeah, and they play Syracuse away. And this is the one I got.
No, it's North Carolina. I'm sorry. North Carolina's going to be the better team.
They don't play North Carolina.
I know it. See, and they don't play Virginia Tech.
No. They're at Louisville. And then they're at Miami.
Well, I don't think Miami will pose a problem with them, but
yeah, well, the
Louisville,
home field advantage is just gone there.
Yeah, Louisville might give them fits.
That's a Thursday night game.
Ooh, that'll be sweet. Come on, Petrino.
I was looking at the ACC schedule. So who's Louisville got on Thursday night?
Florida State, October the 30th.
And the game is at
Louisville.
Put down the Cardinals. Because
that's really the only chance they got to get in
those Thursday night games are always, which is why I go harking back to the Auburn, Kansas State. Those Thursday night games, weird things happen.
You're not kidding.
Well, the only other, Oklahoma State is really the only other team on that schedule that's going to give Florida State a run for their money, I think. Notre Dame's not. Clemson, everybody was picking Clemson to beat them last year, and they got beat like 42-7 or something. Clemson beat Florida State beat Clemson.
I'd like to see Clemson and Louisville matchup. That'd be a good matchup.
Do they play?
They
play October the 11th.
Yep.
Oh, that will be good.
At Clemson.
But see, Dabo's kind of like Mark Richt. They lose that game, that can set you apart, almost destroy a season. When Georgia played LSU in the SEC championship, LSU annihilated them, and it leaves Georgia with sideways. But I mean, every year, Alabama played them in the championship game. One catch away from beating Alabama, and one play away from going and beating Notre Dame. I mean, they would have beaten Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
Clemson's the first team in the state of South Carolina to win a BCS game.
Yes,
And Dabo will be the first one to let you know that, too.
But they played Ohio State.
Is that who?
Yes.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
See, Steve Spurrier ain't even got that far yet.
Nobody's beat Clemson 5
I
years
know
in a row.
it. But see, and South Carolina will do that. South Carolina, I mean, they've had, 3 11-win seasons?
Yeah, in a row.
Yeah, and got nothing to show for it except 11 wins a season, which is great.
Which tells you how strong the SEC is.
Exactly.
And they've won 11 straight games, or 11, had 3 straight 11-win seasons and not been to a BCS game.
Exactly. But what I'm talking about, too, is Florida, Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, all these teams, Texas A&M, the teams that I want all of them. I mean, you can't expect a whole lot from Kentucky and Vanderbilt, 3 9-win seasons. They've done well. I think they got a chance at 8 or 9 this year with the new coach.
I like Derek Mason, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
because he's the architect of stopping Oregon with that. And if he can do that with Oregon, because Oregon would be, I guess Oregon, if they played in the SEC, they'd be a 9-10 win football team, probably, possibly. I don't know, maybe, but at least.
But they wouldn't be averaging 45 points a game.
No,
right? They'd
Exactly.
be a top tier SEC team, like maybe a top 4 or 5, but they wouldn't be like you said, 45 points. They'd be they would be real competitive. They'd be up there like I'd put Oregon up there with the Georgias of the.
Yeah, I'd love to have a team like that in our conference.
And if he can do that to Oregon's offense, just imagine what he could do with the Ole Misses and the. It's a few years before they play Alabama, so by the time they play Alabama, he may have a full roster built to just because Vanderbilt, I expect them to play the style of football just like Stanford, the pro style, using the tight end and a solid hit you in the mouth defense.
We're almost out of time, but real quick, Andy, what's the game you just can't wait to see this weekend?
The first one.
What about you?
Normally I'd say Alabama, but I want to see Jack State, Michigan State.
That's the one I want to see Jack State,
I
Michigan
do want to
State
see
too.
that, but just like you said tonight, Abilene, Texas.
Yeah, Abilene Christian.
I'm not going to watch
somebody.
that one tonight. But, tomorrow night, South Carolina, Texas A&M.
Boise State, Ole Miss too. Don't forget that.
Forgot about
good
that one.
grief, they're just. And I hate it that Alabama and Auburn are kind of kicking off at the same time, but
neither one of those games will be worth watching at halftime.
Yeah, exactly. But
I hope you're right. I mean, if they get out there and kind of have the same attitude that they had for the Oklahoma game, which I don't think that'll be the case.
No,
well,
it won't
Clint
be the
Trickett,
case.
the quarterback of West Virginia, is the first person to ever kiss Nick Saban's daughter. You knew that, right?
At first, I thought I saw
Is that
that.
a
I
fact?
think he was 6 years old or
Yeah.
something. His dad was a defensive coordinator for, or did something with the defense under
Yeah,
Saban
LSU.
at LSU.
At first,
Okay.
I thought that's the ultimate bulletin board material, but I thought 6 years old, they ain't not going to give.
Yeah.
Even Kristen replied jokingly about it.
Well, we've come out this week, and our website is launched again. There was too much traffic on the first one. We had to swap servers. But you can find our podcasts on our website now. Every one of them are on our website. You can just go click on the podcast and watch, listen to them all. You can also view them all the YouTube channel from the website. Go and like our Facebook page and our Twitter pages, and who knows what we're going to be talking about next week. Somebody might walk in there hollering, "Woo, pig!" Who knows?
Well, everybody have a good week, and let's enjoy some college football because it's here.
Go Abilene Christian.
See you next week.